Namaskar. Today it's May 19th, 2026. Welcome to day 67 of Satvik Yogi Path. Each year on March 14 begins my 100 days journey in returning to the essence of yoga in celebration of International Day of Yoga on June 21st. This year, I chose to revisit Maharshi Patanjali's Yoga Sūtra and share my daily practices inspired by it. Once again, this is 67th day of the 100 days of Satvik Yogi Path. Satvik Yogi Path, it is an inclusive, globally inclusive way of living with clarity every day. Yesterday, we learned that all experiences carries the mark of duḥkha because everything changes. Everything is remembered. Everything is anticipated. And the mind is always in motion. Today, Maharshi Patanjali gives us hope that the duḥkha that has not yet come can be avoided, prevented. And this is the promise of yoga. Yoga Sūtra 2.16 or the 16th Yoga Sūtra from the second chapter, Sadhana Pad. And it is Heyam Dukham Anagatam. Heyam Dukham Anagatam. If we have to break it down, the Yoga Sutra word by word, we may understand little bit what the Yoga Sutra means. Heyam, which is avoidable. Dukham, disturbance or the suffering. Anagatam, not yet come. Not yet come. So, which means future disturbance or suffering can be prevented. Future disturbance or suffering can be prevented. How? We are exploring today on day 67 in Yoga Sūtra 2.16. So, Maharshi Patanjali is not asking us to avoid life. Patanjali is asking us to avoid unnecessary disturbance in our lives. Maharshi Patanjali says that you cannot change the past. Can you? That has happened. You cannot change the past. You cannot control everything in the present. Not everything is under our control to change. But you can, not may, you can prevent future dukkha, suffering, disturbance, pain. How? By weakening the klesha in the present. The afflictions of the mind, the fluctuations of the mind, you can weaken the klesh in the present. And this is the heart of yoga. So how does this Yoga Sutra applies in today's lifestyle? Let us once again recite the Yoga Sutra, today's Yoga Sutra, which is the 16th Yoga Sutra from the second chapter, Sadhana Path. And the Yoga Sutra is Heyam Dukham Anagata. Dukham Anagata. Heyam Dukham Anagata. That means the future suffering or the disturbance can be avoided by weakening the klesh, the mental afflictions, the fluctuations of the mind in the present. So, what are these stress before it happens? So, this sutra, this Yoga Sutra, how is this, how this can be applied in today's lifestyle or the modern day? This sutra is not just an ancient philosophy, it is daily life. For example, stress before it happens. Do you go through that? The stress. Tomorrow, I have a very big event. It is it's a corporate environment. It's an event there where I teach, I coach public speaking, mm, s- leadership development, and that very place there is a big event. There has been a lot of stress that was involved during the planning session, and I could see the stress, the frustration, irritation, discomfort amongst the members. But it got sorted with a very good planning, with the planning committee and the members. It got sorted. So the stress definitely exists before it happens. Most stress is not from the event, it is from the anticipation of the event. Most stresses are not from the event, it is from the anticipation of the event. Yoga teaches us to see the pattern early and prevent the spike. Then comes burnout. Burnout is not caused by work alone, it is caused by clinging, fear, and identity pressure. So it is not just work that is causing the burnout. It is actually the clinging, it's the fear, it is the identity pressure. And when these soften, the root soften, burnout reduces. Let me quickly give a shout out to battery underscore acid 53. Hello, thank you so much for joining. Thank you for joining. Today it's the 67th day of the 100 days journey of Satvik Yogi Path in returning to the essence of yoga. And I thank you for joining today. The third is relationship patterns. Arguments in a relationship. Arguments, if you look closely, notice without judgment, arguments don't begin in the moment. They begin in old sanskar or the memories or the imprints. Seeing the pattern early prevents the next conflict. Digital overload. This I'm sure everyone can relate to. We are in the digital world. Nothing, there's hardly anything that can be done without the being digital. So, notifications, comparison, overstimulation. These are modern forms of tapa, which means mental heat. What are these? Notifications, comparisons, overstimulation. So these are the modern form of tap, which is the mental heat. And awareness reduces the friction. Awareness reduces the friction. And then comes emotional spirals. Future dukkha, the future suffering, future pain, future, it has yet to come. But it shows up as overthinking, regret, reactivity, exhaustion. Yoga says if you see the root now, that is in your present, if you see the root now, these are the root: overthinking, regret, exhaustion, reactivity. But if you can see the root now, that is in your present, the fruit changes later. The result changes later. So that means the future dukkha, the dukkha that has yet to come, can be avoided. So this Yoga Sūtra tells us that any unnecessary suffering can be very well avoided. That is yet to come by noticing the patterns early. That is, noticing the roots, the root of it early, or by weakening the klesh, the mental fluctuations, afflictions in the present moment. If we can weaken, if we can soften the afflictions, the future pain, the future suffering, or the suffering that has yet to come, can be avoided. I have an analogy to share with you, and it is the stone on the path. Now, if you see a stone on the path, has it ever happened to you that you're walking and you just tripped? It has happened to me, but has it ever happened to you that you notice the stone beforehand and then you avoided the tripping? Right? If you notice, that means in the present, in awareness, you notice the stone right in front of you and you can avoid tripping. So Maharshi Patanjali says that future dukkha, suffering, pain, is exactly like this: visible, it's avoidable, and it is preventable. But how? How do you know that the future dukkha, suffering? Dukkha is the Sanskrit word for suffering, pain. How do you know that there is a dukkha that has yet to come? It will show up in the root. it will show up as the root. It shows up as overthinking. It shows up as stress. It shows up as burnout. It shows up as the emotional spirals, which is visible regret, reactivity, exhaustion. So once you notice the root, it is very much avoidable. So yoga is definitely not about escaping life. Yoga is about preventing unnecessary pain by observing, by noticing the patterns or the root early. And this is the beginning of freedom. When I see the pattern early, I prevent the pain later. So it is exactly like being aware of the signs and the symptoms that is visible. So, what are we practicing today? The practices for today is we'll notice one small tension. One small tension. Then we ask, if I continue this pattern, what will it create? So the pattern you see is a tension, is a stress, is a regret, a frustration, overthinking, overstimulation. So notice one small tension. So I can give you an example. A tension I have is um, about parking. Even though the event location has ample parking, and yet the parking space are smaller, and I am very privileged to be driving a car which is very big, which takes up a lot of space. So that is my small tension. Now I have to ask myself, if I continue this pattern, what will it create? Then I just pause for one breath. These are the practices that is for today. And then I would choose the lighter option. And then gentle repetition of oh. I am making all attempts to bring about clarity by weakening the clash, by being present in the present moment with utilizing awareness. And then I contemplate on prevention. How can I prevent the future tension, the future, that problem, that parking, that conflict I still have, the dilemma? So let us begin our practice. And the first one is sitting and settling our breath. So to do that, let me first fix this. So to do that, sit with your back and spine straight, and make sure you're not sitting on your tailbone. You are very well utilizing your glutes and the full surface area. And now roll your shoulder to open up your chest and chin slightly tucked in, and you're looking at a point at the eye level right in front of you. And most importantly, we begin, we continue, we end with smile. So bring that smile on you as we practice stillness of breath. Place one hand gently over your navel, and now you would breathe in, breathe out, observing your breath for 2 breath cycle. Then breathe in, breathe out, breathing with awareness. And awareness means being in the present for 2 breath cycle. And then equalize the breath, the inhalation to the exhalation. And then finally lengthening the exhalation from the inhalation in a breath cycle. And we do that also for 2. So in total, we are taking 8 breath cycles divided into 4. First with observation, then with awareness, then comes equalizing, and the last one, lengthening or doubling the exhalation. So let's begin our stillness practice 1. Just observe the first 2 breath cycle. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. The next 2 breath cycle with awareness this time about your present and focusing on your breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And the next 2 breath cycle, equalizing your breath with counting 2 for inhalation and 2 for exhalation in each breath cycle. So let's do it in 2 breath cycle. Breathe in 2, breathe out 2, breathe in 2, breathe out 2. And the last, the 4th step in settling our breath is the lengthening exhalation from the inhalation in 1 breath cycle. And we do it for 2 breath cycle. So I will count to 2, inhalation, exhale for 4. Let's go for it. Breathe in 2, breathe out 2, 3, 4. Breathe in 2, breathe out 2, 3, 4. And just stay like that with your smile on. And open your eyes. Now comes the second stillness practice, in which we would recall one small moment of tension today. I gave you an example of my tension, my one moment of small tension. And the tension is about the event, the anticipation, the event of tomorrow, and parking space. So that's my tension. You could just pick a thought, a reaction, or a pressure, and then you would ask gently, So what future dukkha this tension is creating? This thought or a reaction or a pressure. What future dukkha this moment of tension is creating? And then once you have answered, you would let the breath soften the root. If it is stress, it is burnout, it's emotional spiral. If it is so if it is digital overload. So what future dukkha or suffering or pain or tension this is creating, and we would soften it with the breath. And now as we soften, we practice Om, again placing your one hand gently over your navel, Nabhi, and let us begin. We'll take a deep breath in, and with the exhalation, Om. Remember, rises in the belly, O moves through the chest, and the vibration softens at the lips. Let's go for it. Take a deep breath in. One more. Take a deep breath in. And just stay like that. And now comes the bhavna, contemplating on prevention, avoidance of the future dukkha. Just contemplating on the prevention. And open your eyes. I prevent future dukkha by seeing clearly the root. So you are seeing the pattern early, and hence the future dukkha can be avoided. So again, day 67 challenge is that you would notice one small tension today and soften it before it becomes tomorrow's dukkha. We just did the practice. Notice one small moment of tension and soften it before it becomes tomorrow's dukkha. Day 67 teaches us that the future dukkha is avoidable. You can avoid, but it is possible only when we see it, we see the root, we see the pattern early in the present. And this is the promise of yoga. This is the power of awareness. Thank you for practicing with me today. Your steadiness is the real journey. Now, for tomorrow, we meet again tomorrow. What it is Yoga Sūtra 2. It's the 17th Yoga Sūtra from the second chapter. Now, in the second chapter, that is tomorrow, Yoga Sutra 2.17, that is day 68, we will explore the cause of dukkha. Today we explored how future dukkha, future suffering can be avoided. But tomorrow we will explore the cause of dukkha, the cause of the suffering, the fundamental misalignment between the seer and the seen. The fundamental misalignment between the seer, the one who sees, and the seen. This is Yoga Sutra 2.17, which we will be exploring tomorrow. So we meet again tomorrow. Until then, stay warm, stay open, and most importantly, stay honest to your own story. Thank you.